Good evening. My name is Loschiavo, and today I will be discussing the organizational control theory and its application within the United States Army. Here's our agenda. We'll start with a brief overview of the organizational control theory. Then we'll move into how it is applied within the Army at two levels, the strategic level and the tactical level. Finally, I'll show you the references I used to create this presentation. If you'd like to see the full list of references for my research project, please feel free to contact me. The organizational control theory was created by communication researchers Philip Tompkins and George Chaney. Essentially, the theory focuses on how managers, leaders, and supervisors use communication to exert control over their organization. Control is exerted using one or more of the following 5 strategies: simple control, technical control, bureaucratic control, cultural control, and cultural control's not so distant cousin, concerted control. We'll discuss these further in a later slide. The first key component to the theory is Tompkins and Chaney's double interact of control framework. And essentially, the double interact of control is a framework used to analyze how communication is used to control an organization. The first step is called the direction step. In this step, the organization's leader gives instruction to a subordinate or a group of subordinates. The second step is the evaluation step. This is when the leader examines the subordinates' response and/or their feedback to the message. Did they understand what was said? Did they agree with the direction given? Is their compliance likely or unlikely? Finally, the third step is the direction step. Here, the leader incentivizes compliance with the initial direction. These incentives can either be positive, such as reinforcing a positive reaction by the subordinate, or they can be negative, where they're punish the subordinate for non-compliance. Within the Army, this process happens on a daily basis all across the force. All leaders give guidance and direction to their subordinates, whether it's the Chief of Staff of the Army as the highest-ranking general, or a lowly lieutenant or sergeant. The leader must then evaluate the process and the response or responses given by the subordinate. The leader must elicit feedback, whether it's through verbal or nonverbal communication. And finally, the leader provides incentives for compliance. Again, whether it's positive reinforcement for compliance or negative consequences for non-compliance, the leader establishes discipline within the organization in this process. The next set of key components are the 5 strategies that we spoke about a few minutes ago. Starting in the upper left with simple control. This is direct, open power. And simple control requires the direct intervention of an authority figure to accomplish all the 3 aspects of control that we just spoke about. A leader provides the initial direction to the worker, they evaluate his or her performance, and they administer some sort of disciplinary action, again, reward or punishment. This particular strategy relies on the strength of the relationship between the subordinate and the worker. This particular strategy can be a powerful strategy because the supervisor is directly involved with the entire process. They see everything, they hear everything, they are there throughout the entire process. However, the system can become compromised or difficult to utilize if the organization becomes too large or complex to control through that direct line of sight type management. Again, as with the Army on that strategic level that we'll talk about later on. But this simple control strategy has proven to be successful and work best in smaller organizations. Moving down to the technical control, this process relies simply on the intervention of some sort of physical device, whether it's a machine, or computer software to substitute for the supervisor. So rather than relying on a manager to tell employees what to do or how fast to work, a machine such as a conveyor belt dictates that through the process. Going to bureaucratic control, this strategy relies upon rule systems to influence members' behavior and to facilitate some kind of collective action. Again, this is based on rules. So it's a rule system that may be used to evaluate members' compliance or to set organizational standards or to have some kind of disciplinary directives. This particular strategy is what the Army focuses on. Continuing with the cultural control strategy, this strategy attempts to influence members' behavior by drawing upon a communal or social aspect in which the members seek to make the organization their own and to make the values of the organization their own. Now, this requires members to have the opportunity to interact regularly with each other and to maintain a cohesive sense of community within that work environment. Finally, the concerted control is an extension of cultural management strategy, but it essentially promotes a strong feeling of ownership and empowerment among the workers in the system that is governing them. Okay, now how does this apply to the United States Army? There are two basic levels that we want to focus on. The strategic level is essentially the Department of the Army. It's the Pentagon. It's the big Army, the Army-wide organization that is consisting of approximately 100 or 1.5 million soldiers. This is a very obtrusive control system, and it uses rules and regulations and Army doctrine and publications and published standards to direct and control its subordinates and its members. Again, that falls in line with the bureaucratic control system. Even there in the center, you'll see what the Army dictates as the military decision-making process. So it's a set standard on how to make decisions. Again, very obtrusive, very controlling. Whereas at the tactical level, that's the brigade and smaller, so it's about 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers. And even though they do have policies and guidelines, those are focused locally on the soldiers within that organization. And what has been proven time and time again in the Army is that an unobtrusive control system and a concerted control approach are more effective. And essentially what that allows the unit to do, allow the organization to do, is to have the members feel like they are part of the management process. And by allowing the members and the subordinates within the organization to feel this type of control, this strategy provides an environment where subordinates can express ideas and they can contribute to that system that is controlling them. This fosters high unit morale, strong cohesive team mentality, and it's a tight-knit bond between soldiers that translates into a more disciplined, cohesive fighting force with a strong sense of loyalty, not only to each other, but also to their unit. Ultimately, greater success on the battlefield is achieved at the tactical level by units with this type of organizational control. These are the references that I used for this presentation. Again, if you would like the full research project or the references, please don't hesitate to contact me. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you found this interesting. Thank you.